Hi, Chris here again. I just wanted to sort of tell the story of this Land Cruiser because I've been looking through a lot of the Bring a Trailer features, and it's always interesting to know what goes behind vehicles. So this is going to be the story because it's actually a story of three Land Cruisers. And you've ended up with here is something that cruises very quietly at 60 to 65 miles an hour. It's got comfortable seats. It has really good fuel economy. It's got a great frame underneath it. It's got a really strong engine and a smooth transmission. So I consider what I've done a fair amount of thoughtful modifications here. So anyway, my neighbor had the original donor car that I bought, and it had a really great engine in it, and it had rubber floor mats, which is what I was after because I'd been looking at cruisers for quite a while. So I bought it from him, but it was fairly rusty, and my aim was to end up with something that would make a really good camping and fly fishing platform. So enter EBI Cruisers. Uh, it's owned by Steve Titu, and he has been doing Land Cruisers for 30 years, has a great experience in everything. And so he said, try getting something out of Washington State. You don't have to go down to California or the Southwest states because Washington State doesn't use salt. So I drove down on two separate weekends and looked at about a half a dozen different cruisers, and sure enough, there were some really good rigs down there. And I ended up buying this one because he had just spent about $4,000 doing all kinds of refurbishments to the axles and the seals and the bearings, front and rear. And it had a great frame, which was the number one thing for me. So I bought this, and if you look at the Bernie's invoices on it, I've outlined what still applies to this vehicle. So go back to Steve. He does the engine swap and most of the mechanical work that's been done on this vehicle to date. With the engine swap, you have to take the dash out. He did all the hoses, the rear seal, and the engine mounts. That was 2011. In 2012, I did the sound deadening. I took the whole interior out, rolled out a latex and ceramic bead material. There's a whole gallon of it in here. I did about 4 or 5 coats. Then I put down 2 layers of peel and stick, like Chip Foose's Dynamat. And then on top of that, a really good thick layer of foam with a metal layer on top of it. So it's cut the noise out of this engine, out of the cabin extremely well. I put LED bulbs, interior and exterior, except for the 2 yellow fog lights on the front. Then we moved into paint and body in 2012. It's got a 2-stage waterborne finish on it. There was some previous light damage on the back left and the right front fenders that was discovered when the body man was working on it. It's got gravel guard along the bottom. There were 2 blisters on the rear left wheel well that I repaired in 2016, and there's 2 more that have popped out on the other side just this year. So in 2012, I bought the second donor car and got the transmission and another 3B engine out of it, which that engine can go along with the sail, and the compression is very strong. It's 420, 400, 400, and 420. Like this engine in here, it also has strong compression. Onto the steering, I ended up having the steering pump rebuilt, had a rebuilt steering box done for it as well, so I've looked after that system. In the interior, I did Mazda seats. I dyed the door cards black, and some of you may be just grumbling about that, but I can have access to 4 new brown door cards if you want to change it back. I did the rear storage. And in early 2013, the 5-speed was rebuilt with the complete tranny kit with the synchros, seals, bearings, bushings. Everything was done on it. The same with the transfer case. The flywheel was ground. It had a new rear seal put in it. And what else? I also, as a preventative thing, put in a brand new speedo cable because the tranny was out. Then in 2013 as well, I did the old Van EVU suspension, leaf springs, shackles, bushings, and shocks. The AXT turbo was put in 2013. There's lots of photos, and if you look at the bills on it, you can have a pretty good idea that those photos speak for themselves. They did a great job. It runs on 12 pounds boost. It took the horsepower from 90 to 130, and with the 5-speed, it makes for really effortless passing, and you can cruise very nicely 60 to 65 all day long. The front end had a complete front knuckle wiper kit and seals installed in 2013. The injectors were rebuilt and metered, and the fuel economy is much better than the 2F. It gets now with the turbo, because it usually drops a bit with the turbo, gets about 21 miles to the gallon US. 2014, I did the wheels and tires, put them on the ions. I got the snow tires on 40 rims. The front bumper and winch was done, and then as a preventative measure, I had the radiator rebuilt and put in a new water pump, temperature sending unit, and then had both starters rebuilt as well with the alternator. 2016, I had the new front inner seals done, and the rear brakes were completely done, including drums, the U-joints, and the master cylinder was leaking a little bit, so I put in a new master cylinder. 2018, there was a hood respray that I mentioned. That was due to some light hail damage, but it looks pretty good. There's 1 or 2 little nicks in it. 2019, had a new muffler installed and the LED headlights. There is no air conditioning. It's been removed. Every time I've done something, I've had new nuts and bolts put in. I've done lots of preventative reconditioning, and I've used sort of a systems approach to working through the vehicle. It's not been off-roaded by me or the previous owner. There's been minimal winter driving since I've had it. And as far as consideration for buying, you've got 3 sort of issues: importation, transportation, and storage. I've included notes for when I imported it from the US. It's sort of going to be the reverse of that. Ours was done mostly online, but what you need is a state registration, you need insurance, you need a bill of sale, and you need plates. So there are carriers that will do the whole thing for you. They will work through a broker. You don't have to do anything, or you can also come up, get it, drive it down to the border, do the exchange there, and pick it up on the other side. I think that's about it. And be sure to look at that invoice that's got Steve Titu's number on it and give him a call if you want to confirm the work that's been done. Thanks.